Okay, welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about editing the content that's in the templates. And the big thing today is communicating and letting your students know who you are. And this kind of stems from a lot of phone calls that we get from students asking for help. And I have to laugh because there are so many students that say, I don't know who my instructor is. And, I hope sometimes it's because they can't pronounce the name and they don't want to try. But a lot of the times they haven't looked at their course schedule, or that's what they have to look at to see who it is. And, the big thing about today is communicating with them, letting them know what's going on, what do they need to do to get started, and who are you? So one of the things that we have in our template is a start here section. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and hopefully it's obvious to the students that if they click on that link in your course menu, that they're going to get instructions on what to do first to get started. So we kind of given you a template for the start here section that we want you to go in and edit. And I'm going to give you some examples in the PowerPoint that I'm going to give you today. And, we'll talk about that. Another thing we're going to talk about is creating course announcements. Okay. At a minimum, you should be giving your students announcements at least once a week, if not more often than that. I actually set up my announcements so that not only do they show up as an announcement in Blackboard, they go out as an email, and I also use remind text messaging for my students as well. And I've discovered that if I throw them into the remind and have them have to opt out if they don't want it, I'm getting more people signing up for it instead of just giving them instructions on how to opt in. So that's another thing we can talk about today. Another thing about the course announcements, to save you time when you roll your content over, set a closing date for your announcements. That way, none of the announcements are showing when it rolls over to the next semester. So that's a huge thing for me. Okay. And then adding a banner. Now, there's a couple different places. I know that we have a banner, what we would consider a banner with maybe your picture in it, your contact information in the start here section of the templates. I also put a banner right on my homepage with a picture of myself on there. And that way the students see me and they find out what my name is and how to contact me. And that's before they go into any content inside of the class. So I'll show you how to go in and add content in there and be able to set that up. So there's, that's a big part of it, is communicating and giving them the information that they need to get started. Okay. Now, so announcements in the course, like I said, I go in and I create an opening announcement that usually mimics what I have in the start here section. Okay. I'm telling my students where to find the information in the course. I send them the syllabus. I give them, getting started instruction, what they should click on when they go into the course. Because a lot of times that start here doesn't make sense to them. So I send an announcement. I basically put a lot of that same information that's in my start here in my first announcement that I sent out, and I set it to go out in an email. Okay. Now, when you set announcements, I have a screen here that shows the settings for the announcements. And let me blow this up so you can see it. Obviously, you have a subject line. One of the big things about the announcements is they might only see the subject line. And that subject line is what is getting them to open it. So the more descriptive your subject line is, the better it's going to be. Because if you look at Blackboard and you look underneath, the list of announcements, all you'll see in there is the subject lines. So if you put something in there that's meaningful to them, then they're going to open it and hopefully read it. Okay. Obviously you have the editor for your announcements. So you can bold things, you can underline, you can highlight, you can add pictures. You can attach files. So there's a lot of options to put into the announcement. The nice thing about it is if you're doing an announcement, like I said, you can add the syllabus to it, you could add the schedule, and that would go out to their email as well if you set that to turn on to go out to the emails. So you can get a lot of information out there at the beginning. Okay, now this is another reason why a lot of people have asked to have the students loaded into the Blackboard course shells earlier than the first day of classes, so that they can use the announcements in Blackboard to send this information out ahead of time. We have made some changes for winter and for spring. Winter, the students are going to be loaded on January 2nd, which is 2 days before the winter session starts. And for spring, we're loading them 4 days before the semester starts. So you can actually do an announcement and send it out as an email. So if you want to contact them before then you've got to use Starfish or Banner. Okay. I would highly recommend that if you're going to, if you require a book in your class that they have to purchase and order, I would send them something out through Banner or through Starfish at least a week at a time, to let them know so that they can get their book ordered and get moving. Not that they all do it, but at least those that are proactive have that information. All right. Also for the duration, I will always set a closing date on my announcements. And if it's something that would apply to the whole semester, I would have the end of the semester as a date for it to close. If it's an announcement that something about what's going on that week, I would set it to close at the end of the week. So I always set an ending date for all my announcements. Okay. The option to send as an announcement immediately in an email. Okay. If you set an open date, you cannot use that. Okay. And it's because, it doesn't let you say, okay, open on January 16th at 6 a.m. And tell it to send it out immediately as an email, because when you're building it, it's that immediate means right now. The minute that I'm building it, it would go out. So it won't let you do both. It won't let you check that box. Okay. So I prefer to do my announcements the day that I want them to go out, or I'll build them and then go back in on that first day and I turn off that opening date and turn on the option to send it out as an email immediately. So this way I know the announcement's already there. It's already on for students to see when they go into the course the first day, but then I go in and send it out as an email as well after we've gotten started. Okay. So, kind of keep that in mind. So that's the big thing about the announcements. And obviously when you go into Blackboard, let me pull up my Blackboard screen. All right, so on their home page, if you have announcements in there, let me get into one that has an announcement. Actually, N2OL will be a good one to get into. Come on. Actually, right now I can see there's announcements here. Okay, so the big thing is that if you do create announcements, you can see that all they're going to see is the subject line. So, that's going to make them want to open it. Okay. Also, if I click on one of the announcements for that course, it's going to put me into all the announcements that are displayed right now in that course. So if I have an announcement from last semester that I never turned off, my students are going to see that when they look at this list. So that's why I like having things close on specific days. I only want, current information to show up in this announcement list. Okay. So, kind of keep that in mind. Now, you can always go back in and actually look at the announcements that you've set up for a class, and you can reuse announcements. Okay. So, to give you an idea, I'm going to go into one of my other courses. Come on. All right. So I have a couple of courses that are starting on Wednesday. So if I go into one of those courses, okay, and I go to course announcements in here, I can actually see all the announcements here that I've written throughout whatever I've rolled over. Okay. Now I can already see that I have not cleaned these up. So if I go into student preview right now and I look at announcements, oh, they are off. Okay. So I'm looking at this, and when my students come in right now, they're not going to have any announcements showing. Okay. So let me exit back out of that. Okay, so more than likely I want this welcome announcement to open. Okay, so right now, if I went in and I don't know why the edit mode keeps going off, but I have to turn edit mode on. Okay, so I can say that I can see that this is not available right now to students. It's telling me at the top. It's going to be posted on Thursday, November 12th at 7 a.m. So I've already set my opening announcement to show to students. So at this point, when I come in here on Thursday morning, I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit this. It's already showing the students, but it has an open and close date, so I can't send it out as an announcement. So Thursday morning, I would come in here and I would turn off that open and do it as a send. And that way it would still close, but it would go out as an email immediately. So this way I know the announcement's there when they go in on Thursday morning when they have access to it. But this way I also know that it's going to be in their email. Okay. The nice thing about sending it out to their email is if you set your announcements to turn off, they can always go back to their emails and see your old announcements that went out. Okay. I keep everything. So this way I know what went out to my classes. But this way, if a student comes back and says, oh, I didn't get that information, I could go back and resend that and say, this went out on such and such a day. So I would know exactly, that they got it and I had set it up to go out to their email. All right. So right now I'm going to cancel this because I want to keep the opening date on this. Okay. But I can go into any one of these and edit them and reuse them. Okay. But I like doing that because I do send out at least a weekly announcement. I will send out an announcement to let them know that I've graded things, to check my grades and check the rubrics, check the feedback. So I usually set up announcements twice a week. One is a reminder to get started on the module, what they should be doing. And then I do a second one as the due dates approach to remind them, your module is closing. These are the due dates. I've graded the last set of assignments, so check those, make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And like I said, I send out at least 2 announcements a week to my students. Okay, so that's, really important to make sure that you do. All right, now I'm going to go into a template and we're going to take a look at the Start Here section. Okay, now Start Here should be at the top of your menu. Okay, it should be in all your templates. It should be in the master right now. So if I'm looking at this, we've taken things that we recommend to all of our students in this Start Here. So some of the things that you should be changing, give them a welcome, tell them who you are. Okay, think of your Start Here as your first day that you normally would meet with your students. Okay, so, it's funny because I was talking to a couple of people today and they're like, oh, I'll tell them about this. And I'm like, you're in an online course. You're not going to be telling them anything. It should be in your course content, what you normally would share on that very first day. Okay, so you want to make sure that what you would normally tell them, do you have research papers? Do you have library resources that you use? Things like that to get them started in the class, started thinking about, projects that they're going to be doing, how to get help. Okay. We've got the link to the orientation in here. So if they've never used Blackboard before, or they've never, taken an online course before, we have an orientation that they can actually go in and participate in to prepare. And we actually send a link out to this before the classes start. So they can actually do this ahead of time, even if they're not loaded into your course. So we do send out a reminder to let them know that this is available to them right now. All right. We tell them where to look for your course information. So, you know, we use the template, we tell them to go to course information / syllabus. So I assume you must have something like that in your course. Even if you don't name it that, you would want to edit this and make sure you update it in the start here. Okay. How are you going to communicate with your students? Okay. That's a big thing. All right. Some faculty use the course messages in Blackboard. I do not recommend doing that because it requires students to go into the course, to open up the course messages, to see them, and you have to do the same thing. I like using the email option because there's a lot of parts in Blackboard that you can email them directly from the Grade Center, through the course announcements, through the reports, things like that. So I prefer using the email option. Okay. So you need to let them know, how are they going to get a hold of you? Okay. Obviously, students will come to us and say, oh, my instructor's not responding to me. I'm like, okay, you know, how are you reaching out to them? Is it based on what they're giving you information in your Start Here section in your course? We have to take that as a grain of salt. Usually the students want an answer within seconds, and they'll come to us right after they send the email to you and say, well, they haven't replied to us yet. Like, when did you send that? Oh, 15 minutes ago. Well, no, you're not going to hear back from them. You know, 15 minutes later, they might be in class. They, you know, might be doing something else. They might be at another campus if they're doing other training somewhere. So that's another thing. You know, how often are you going to be checking emails from them? Put that in the Start Here. Let them know how, you know, is your normal time for checking between 2 and 4 in the afternoon. Let them know that. Okay. So that way they know that they're going to go back and look at their emails after 4 o'clock, and hopefully they've got a message from you. So, you know, the more specific you can be, the better. Okay. And reminders, tell them to check their schedule, check their announcements regularly, check their college email. We want them to check their email. That's why I prefer using the email feature as well. Okay. So that should all be part of your Start Here. Now, I also have a section in mine where I talk about the book. Okay. I only have one of my 6 courses that I teach that requires a book. But the funny thing about it is, I have students that will tell me that they haven't started my other course because they haven't gotten the book yet. And it's like, well, did you read the Start Here? Because I said there is no book. You can get started immediately. Or I'll say to them, they can do Mod 1 because it doesn't require the book, doesn't require any software. They have everything that they need to get started. And then, you know, get them used to using Blackboard before I move them on. Okay. So I think I've got double the stuff in here. I also give them a video on a course navigation to go in and do. So that way I actually step them through the course itself so they can see where to find things, how to get help, things like that. So I have this, because all my courses are laid out exactly, I can do one video and put that video in all my courses and tell my students, this is for all my CIS courses. They all look the same. You can find the same links in the course menu. You can find the same layout. So I only have to do the one. That's the advantage of using the template and structuring them all the same. Okay, so that's what you would have in your Start Here. And like I said, once you build this Start Here, you could actually go in and just copy and paste this and make that your first opening announcement. Okay, I'm covering the same thing. I'm sending it out to their email. They didn't get into the course yet. I'm letting them know what they need to do to get started. Okay, and I will even give them a link to the video so that they can watch the video before they even get into the course. Okay, so that's part of your Start Here. You know, think about that as your first day meeting with them in class. Okay, and the same thing as that opening announcement as well. Okay, what do they need to get started? Now, to edit anything in your course, you're going to go, you make sure your edit mode is on. And all I have to do is hit the down arrow to the right of the heading and edit. Okay, and you know, just, you know, you've got your heading. I could actually make colors if I wanted to for my heading. Here's the information that you can go in and edit because we've already given you the templates. Okay, I could add a file if I wanted to do the syllabus in here and the schedule, whatever, I could add that as well. This is an area here that's in most of your content, just about everything inside your course. So do you want the users to see it? Okay. It obviously anything that's going to be introduction to get them started in the course, you want to have them see it the minute they can get into the course. Okay. So yes, you would make it available. Always turn your track views on. The only time that I don't usually do a display after date, but I will sometimes do a display until date for certain assignments that I don't want them to get into after, a certain number of days after the due date. But really that's the only time. Otherwise I leave all the content on for them through the whole course. Okay. And then you would just submit it, and that's how you would go in and edit your information. Okay. Now, in our template, we also have a section for what they call the banner, and I'm not seeing it in here. So let me go in to one of our templates. Oops. Got too much stuff to look through. Okay. So I'm going to go back in and start here. Oh, I guess I don't have it. Okay. Somewhere in here, we could have information about how to contact you. Okay. Maybe it's in course information. And in there. Yeah, right in here, your contact information. So you should edit this. Now here's a welcome section. This is where you would tell a little information about yourself. So make sure you go into that, add a picture, and just give them a little information about you. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have to read it. I put in there, how much time that I've actually worked for the college, what classes I teach, a little bit information about my personal information. I let them know I have 2 kids that are in college, things like that, just to let them know a lot of times that I'm in the same boat that they're in. I have family, I have kids, I have pets, so I give them a little bit of information about myself. Okay. And then underneath your contact information in here, right now, I would give them mainly my email, because a lot of times, you might not be on campus. So let them know that, make sure you put that in the contact information. You could put in your work phone number, but they might not, you don't want them leaving messages at work when you're not there. Okay. So kind of keep that in mind as you're building. I would also recommend that you go in and add a picture of yourself in here. So let me, I'll do it in here and then I'll take it out. So when I go in and I edit this, okay, if I want to add a picture to this, I would put my cursor where I want the picture to go. And up in your editing tools here, there's an option to insert image. So I would go into insert image and then browse my computer. Okay, and I purposely put in one of my pictures today right here. So I'm going to go in and grab a picture. It can be a bitmap, it can be a JPEG, it can be a PNG file as well. So I would select the picture and open it. You always want to put a description. What is the picture showing? Let me do this one and I'll change it. And I always put the same thing in the title and the description, because sometimes it depends on the screen reader what it's going to read to your students. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and insert that, and there's my picture in there. Okay, if I want to change the wrapping on it, or if I want to put some space between the picture and my text, I can right click on it and go into image, and then appearance lets me make the changes. So I can set the alignment on the left. I can change the size if I want to, and I can set in vertical spacing. Okay, and then update that. And this way, now the text wraps around the picture because I told it to be on the left. It adds a little bit of spacing in there because I set it at 20. I think it's points, so 20 I find is a pretty good layout number. And then you would go in and you would edit your information. and put, all the contact information in here as well. And I want you to notice we have the SUNY Online Help Desk phone number, okay? Every time I talk to one of my students, before they leave my office or while I have them on the phone, I have them pull out their phone and plug in that phone number, okay? Because that is the most useful thing you can give any student, because this way, if they're having problems uploading an assignment, taking a test, anything like that, the first thing we tell our students, especially if it's outside of our normal business hours, call them for help, any Blackboard help at all. And that applies to you guys too, okay? If you're in the 10 o'clock at night, you're trying to build an assignment or a discussion in a course and you've forgotten how to do it, call that number. They are actually open now from 7 a.m. till midnight, 5 days a week. And Saturday and Sunday, they're open like 10 a.m. until between 6 and 8, I think, at night on the weekends. So now that I see Maria trying to see it, that is also in the template for all the courses. We've added it in every single one of them. So it's right in there and they can actually click on that link and it will actually take them to the website. So if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and they can't call, they can put in a ticket as well. And then they would call them back the next day or email them. Okay. So that is probably the most important thing to give any student in your course. Okay. So that's why we build it right into the template. All right. I'm not going to submit this because I don't want to have my picture in the template. So I'm going to cancel that. Okay. Now, when students enter your course, they enter your course from the home page. Okay. Unless you change it, you can change where they come in. We also have a banner across the top, and here's an example of the banner up here. Okay. Let me pull my PowerPoint up for a minute. And this is the banner that I have in my courses. Okay. I tell them what course it is. I tell them who I am, where they can find me on campus, if they can call me and leave me a voice message because I am in the office. I added this little section in here, calls only, no text, because I had a student that was upset because she was texting me on my work phone number and I wasn't getting the message because it was a landline. So I kind of got my hand slapped. So I added that little statement in there that no, you cannot text me on that phone number. And then I also have the my email for them to get a hold of me. And then I put the navigation video, the intro and navigation video right in the banner at the top. So when my students go into my course, all that information is at the top of the screen up here before they go in anywhere. Okay. So hopefully if a student comes to me and says, you know, I don't know who my instructor is, I'd like to hope that everybody's gone in and added their picture and, you know, their information at the top. I have actually had students stop me in the hallway and say, oh, you're one of my instructors. I was at the dentist office a couple of weeks ago and one of the secretaries in the office said, oh, you were one of my instructors. And she recognized me because she saw my picture in my course. So, you know, making that connection and letting them know that you're a human being and you are their instructor helps. And that's why I also do a navigation video to introduce me and the course to them. So that way they hear my voice. You're making that connection with your voice is a huge thing. I was actually at a soccer tournament years ago and I had gotten up and walked away to answer a phone call from my son. And when I came back to sit down, a woman that was waiting for the next game stopped me and she said, do you work at N-Trip? And I'm like, yes. And she goes, I listen to your Blackboard instruction videos all the time. And I recognized your voice when you answered that call. So they do make that connection. So, you know, even though a lot of us do not like hearing our voices, I will not go back and listen to my videos because I don't want to hear my voice. But it does make them realize that there is an actual human being. They make a connection with you. They hear your voice. They see you. Okay. So it's not a bad idea to you know, make that introduction video, even if it's just something to talk about yourself. So that's something that we put in there as part of that banner, as part of our example. Okay. We also have a PowerPoint example that we give you. So you can actually download the PowerPoint and actually create a narrated PowerPoint. So if anybody wants to learn how to do that, let me know, and I can set up an appointment to go through. If you've never used PowerPoint to do a narration, I have instruction sheets all set up to tell you how to do it, how to save it, how to export it as a MP4 file and put it into YouTube, and how to link it in your course. So it sounds like a lot of steps, but like I said, it helps make that connection with your student, which is a big part of this. Okay. Usually when we get the questions of, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do when I start my courses. When I go in and look at somebody's course, the first thing I see in there, the only thing they'll see in there is like learning modules content. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to click. They haven't gotten any specific instructions. So, that's a big part of it. They need to know that you're there. You're there to help them. Kind of to go off on a tangent a little bit, we're, half an hour in the template, something else that's in there in our instructions. Like if you look at the icebreaker activities in the templates, we actually have an instruction video from Blackboard on how to submit an assignment as part of the instructions. Okay. It's built right into the template. So you can actually copy and paste that and put those instructions in every single one of your assignments. And a lot of people say to me, why would you put that in every single assignment? By the time they get to assignment 3, they should know how to do it. Okay. Well, we know that we have those students that don't get in there immediately. They've already missed maybe mod 1 and you've already started mod 2 and they're getting in there for the first time to start do stuff. If you don't have those instructions in there for them to watch, you've already given them a barrier. They don't know how to submit that first assignment that they're trying to do. Okay, so I put these instructions on every single assignment. And this is something also that was mentioned this morning when I did a session. I tell them what file format I expect them to give me. Okay, there's a lot of them that are using the free software and it gives you a file format that you can't open. So I specifically put it as part of my instructions right on the screen so my students see that. So I can, I don't feel that, it's bad for me to say, I can't read it. You've got to give me a new file. Okay. Same thing for discussions. On every discussion, I give them the step-by-step instructions on how to get started. And I give them the video on how to participate in a discussion. Okay. So this way, and I put it in everyone, I don't care. This way, no matter what discussion they jump into on the very first time, they have the instructions on how to get started. Okay. You got to look at it. And that's the big thing about getting some really good start here instructions. Get them acclimated to your course. Give them instructions on what steps to do each time to get started. In the course information at the bottom, okay, I tell them once they've read all this, what do they do next? Okay, what am I expecting that they're going to click on after they get done with this? Okay, so it's very important to give them those next steps. Okay, once they've gotten through the introduction documents, they've done maybe that icebreaker module, hopefully everything will make sense to them as they start getting deeper into your modules in your course. Okay, that's why all my modules are the same. Each week I give them, basically the same type of assignments. I know sometimes that's hard depending on what you're doing each week. But I try to keep some continuity. So that way, when they go from module to module, the information's the same. Okay. One of the other things that you're going to want to edit, we have some example modules and we made some changes to this. We took out some of the examples, like here's the discussion instructions. This is not an actual discussion because we found it caused some problems with people, but we wanted to give you the instructions that you could copy and paste when you're building your own discussions. So when you go to build your own, you would actually put in what you want them to do, how often should they post, things like that. But here are the instructions on how to get started in that first discussion. So that's part of the template that we've given you. Okay. in here how do students upload a file, creating a PDF, things like that. So these are hidden from students, but they're part of that template. How to submit an assignment, okay? What they should do to create a test, okay, or take a test. So we've created these in there as part of the templates. So you can just take our instructions and alter them as you build your own tests, your own discussions, your own assignments, okay? So we've tried to give you everything to supply your students what they need to know to get started. Okay, all right. Any questions about what I've showed you, how to edit things, what you should add?
Donna?
Go ahead.
It's Catherine. Are you going to go back to the banner and actually open it?
Oh, sure, sure.
Yeah, because I did actually was very excited about the banner, but then when I try to add things or change things, the spacing, like you just did something with images, the spacing or the text, you know,
the banner is a weird thing because it's the only thing in the course that you don't use edit when you hit the drop down arrow. Okay, so when you are on the home page, you'll see home page here, and this here is your banner. So if I hit the drop arrow on that, you want to do page banner, not edit. And that will put me into that area where I can add my image. I can add, you know, my name, my office, things like that. Okay, so that's the only bad thing. I don't know why they set it up that way, but it's the only spot where you do not use edit to make changes to it.
Okay, how do you get yours to have, you know, like to do a left?
I put a table in it.
Yeah, how do you do that?
Okay, let me do one without actually messing up the template.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so let me just go into one of these test courses. All right, so when you go into the page banner, all right, right now it says home page, so I would get rid of that. And then there is a table button right here. Let me blow this up so you can see it easier. Right there. So you would hit table, and then I would say I want 2 columns, but I only want 1 row. And then insert. So there it is right there. My cursor is actually flashing in it. So then what I could do is I'm in the first cell, so I could go in and add my image again. So let me just grab that. All right, so I'm going to put that in there. Don't forget to do your captions. Okay, so there it is in the first cell. So now if I can click in this other cell, I can do instructor and then put my name in here and then phone and put the information in there and email. Okay, and it will automatically expand as you add more text.
That explains a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, I've done this before, but I knew you were going to have an easier way to do it. So
and there it is right there.
Okay.
Okay, now I've gone in, I've made colors in there, but you don't need to do that. Okay, the reason why I did colors in mine is because I have 6 CIS courses that I teach throughout the semester, and a lot of my students take more than one of my courses. So I change the color of the banner in each one of them so that when they go from one course to the other, something pops out at the top to let them know that they've switched courses. So that's the main thing that I do. Okay, but like I said, this is your entry point into the course. So if you have this at the top, they immediately see you. They see what your name is and how to contact you. Okay, so this way they aren't trying to go in and, you know, do I have to open the syllabus to find out how to get a hold of them? You know, do I go into course information? Where is it? This way, you know, usually what will happen is they'll email me in, and I can tell by the questions that they've asked me, they have not gone in to start here, or they haven't read the announcement, and I'll, you know, direct them to do that. But, you know, at least this way, it gives them a starting point. It gives them contact information with you. But it just, like I said, it puts a face to the name so that they know you're a human being teaching the course. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
All right, Maria, did you have another question?
I have a few, but I'll try to make them short. So one, I don't know if this is a help desk question or a you question. I sometimes try to email individual students through the grade book, which I don't always do because if I have a regular email communication with them, I don't have to go that route. But if I resort to that, I found that it goes to all the students. And that's even when I click on their name or even when I put in or choose just their name in the grade book way. Does anybody else go through that, or am I?
Let me, I don't know if I have any people in this one, so let me go into one that I have people in.
Because I know you can choose their name, and I've
Yes.
done that. And for some reason, it looks like it's going to the whole class.
Okay, we'll figure out what you got.
And the only reason I know I realized it was doing that was because when they write me back, I can see that other students start writing back thinking that I meant it for them.
Gotcha. All right, so under the grade center. Okay, so you would select the individual students that you want to send the email out to.
Right.
And under email, you would do selected users.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like it was going to the whole class, even though I did it that way.
No, it's actually, it will show you at the top of who it's going to.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is blind CC'd, even though it doesn't say that.
Okay.
So if you do like a generic email saying, oh, you forgot this, or you didn't do this, they don't know who it's going to. Okay.
Yeah. All right. I won't give up on it, but that was one of the things. The other thing is this a you question? I teach at 4 different schools. All the other ones I've been able to figure out how to get the emails to go from the school email to my cell phone, like to forward it, so that I don't have to log into the school email to get the message. But for some reason I can't get the NCCC one to do that. Does it give us the option to forward an email from a student from our school email account to, say, a Gmail?
That I do not know.
That may be a help desk. Okay, I've got one more for you. Which file format do you think works best through Blackboard? Is it docs, or do you know of any that don't work? Because I found the submission text don't work and pages don't work.
Pages, unless you have the software, it won't let you load it
Right.
and look at it. So .docx, that
So
is the most common one, yeah, for Word.
And a lot of them say I don't have Word, and I tell them on the first day that you can get it for free at Microsoft.com/students, but
Yep.
they don't seem to want to go through that. Okay.
Okay, what they can do, a lot of them are using Google Docs,
Yeah.
and even Google Docs has the option to save the file as a Word file. So even if they're using that, they
That
can
was
save
my
it as
question.
Word.
Okay, because I've been having them share the Google Docs file with me by emailing it to me, and then I edit it and stuff, but I would rather do this through Blackboard. I didn't realize you could save a Google Docs file as a Word. That's helpful. Thank you.
Yes, you can.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Bob, did you want to jump in on that one question about the email? I noticed you came on at that point.
Yeah, under Google Docs, under File, do Download As, and Word is your option.
Okay.
And even if they get the free Word, they still have to learn how to download it because it saves to the cloud rather than to their computer, and then they're unable to attach it. So you have to go through that extra step of save as and saving to your computer.
Do you have them use a certain kind of file only, or do you give them both options?
I try to get them to use only docx because that is the easiest way to grade in Word. But if they do send you a PDF, it is possible in the Office 365 to open it and save it as a Word document.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
But it saves you a lot of time if they know how to get it to a Word document, either from Google Doc or actually have videos that I put in the course to do that.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay.
I was going to say, I'm wondering if we shouldn't add that somewhere. Even if we did it under the student tab, if we added a section in here, maybe on submitting assignments, what file formats you should be submitting, and I mean, we could do a whole module in there. That might be an option.
That would be wonderful for the
It would.
English folk.
That
Okay.
would be a huge help.
Mhm.
All right. See, I'm very specific because I teach the Excel and Word, so I have to have them submit a specific file type, but yes. Let me,
Yeah, because I like to edit their essays and grade them in Blackboard, and I can't always do that depending on how they submit. I guess we all go through that.
yes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
The inline editor is very, very picky.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will, I'll do something because like I said, if we can prevent those barriers for these students and because it's a pain in the neck to have to send a file back to them and ask them to, usually Pages is the only one we have a big problem with. There is a converter, but it's a pain in the neck. It's much easier to go back to them and say, okay, you need to do a file save as and save it as a .docx file. And that way they
Right.
can.
In Pages, it's under files also. And depending on the version they have, it's either export to Word document or download as Word document.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, for me, I have to have specific file formats, but because I use Access and Excel and PowerPoint. So but yes, if if there's anything, sometimes we're trying to make sure that we're not giving them too much information. But if there's something, because I would have to say that is a big problem for many faculty, that they're not getting the file formats that they need to be able to grade.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anything else you can think of? Yeah. And I tell my students, it's like, why would you not want to download the free version of Office 365
Yeah.
when you can get it? It's kind of nuts not to. I mean, if you go out and you want to buy it, it's what, a couple $100s. So, even if you only use it while you're here, I don't know how long their subscription will last, but if they download it on their computer, it should last for quite a while.
Donna, do you have a video on how, because I've been telling my students this, but I haven't done a video yet on how they can see the comments that I put on those documents when I edit those in Blackboard?
Yes. Yes. In fact, I can send you that video.
Oh, that would
Basically what it is, I tell them where to see feedback, rubrics, and comments that you've made on the page. I have a video for that.
great.
I can send it as a tip of the week.
Okay, great.
When we first converted to Blackboard in, what was it, 2013, Donna? Is that right?
13, yes.
We put in a help ticket with Blackboard to make the process of getting them to their feedback easier. And you can see how well that's done.
Hasn't changed.
It's so unbelievably counterintuitive to go to My Grades, click on the assignment, and then click on the score.
Right.
That's
right.
just nuts. And if for those who are here at Angel Times, you just clicked a box at the bottom and emailed them the whole thing, and there's no reason why they couldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I-
Right now they're working on Ultra, so it's not going to be updated. So.
What?
Well, there is a new version of Blackboard out. Actually, we're probably about 10 versions behind right now.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Oh no.
but I'm in no rush to change anything at this point. So, all
Yeah.
right. Any other questions you can think of?
This is really helpful, Donna.
Okay.
Yeah. Very helpful.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the recording so that because I can find it now. Okay. If anybody